And I'm going to tell you this because I ain't going to front you. Believe me, it offends me too. I'm not recommending anybody or Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Mrs. Koi Style. My name is Kawana. I thank you for joining me here on my channel where I speak about my style, your style, everyone else's style, lifestyle, and every now and again, I sprinkle in a little bit of luxury. If that's your style and you want to join the style squad, then please hit the subscribe button so that you never ever miss one of my videos where we're talking about all of the style topics. Let's get into today because this video has been promised now for several weeks. We are talking about all of the places that you can potentially purchase pre-loved luxury. So let's go get them. We're going to categorize the first three into the same category. That is going to be Poshmark, Vestiaire Collective, and eBay. And the reason why they're being lumped into the same category is because these particular places allow a seller to list items on their website. They have not authenticated the item. They have not vetted the item. The only thing that happens is that the seller is able to list these items for sale on those websites. This means that once the purchaser buys the item, it is either shipped to that place to then be shipped to you, or it is shipped directly to you. One of the two. Okay? So it doesn't mean not to purchase there. I'm not saying that. I'm only offering you places where you can, in fact, purchase pre-loved luxury. And I'm trying to give you the facts of that as I know it. Poshmark offers a return, as well as Vestiaire offers a return. So it's not as if you wouldn't be able to return. You can if you want to dispute the transaction or if the item is not as shown, whatever the different variables are. There's Posh Protect on Poshmark. There is the return, whatever Vestiaire Collective offers a 14-day return policy. So it's up to you. But remember, the item remains with the seller until you actually purchase it, right? But the other thing about being able to authenticate, if you want to have a second authenticator, or if an item has not been authenticated and you have any questions about it, there are other places where you can have your items authenticated. One of them is Real Authentication. I haven't used them in a number of years. No, they're not associated with TheReal Real, who we're going to talk about later. It's just Real Authenticators. I've used them before. You take a few pictures of your bag or item, you upload it, they review it. If they need more pictures, they ask you. There is a fee. Nothing is free. And there's also another place whose name I do not remember that I have not used. But as I'm speaking about Real Authenticators, their name will also be over here somewhere in the corner. So those are two options of having your bags authenticated. And you can use those for either of the three that I just named or any of the others that I'm going to name as the video continues. All right, said a mouthful. Authentication is key. All right. Next, we're going to talk about Yoogis Closet. I've never purchased from Yoogis Closet, but I think that their website is user-friendly, and I particularly enjoy Yoogis Closet because they have this kind of table that details the history of Chanel bags, and it lets you know based off of the authenticity code, or I don't know if that's what it's called, but you know, the number or serial numbers associated with a bag. It lets you know what years match to what. It breaks down how to determine what the color is of the bag, what season it came from, all of the things. So if you want to be educated about Chanel or educated about anything, I'm one of those such people because I'm such a luxury lover. So I love that about Yoogis Closet. I think their prices are sort of okay, but again, I haven't really purchased from them, but I have not heard any bad reviews. So they are an option. Two other places that I haven't purchased from, but you know, I'm here watching YouTube just like you all are watching me. And so I listen to what the girlies say and I kind of follow their recommendations. And I listen to the people particularly who go back and forth again and again and again and continue to make purchases. And that's how these names become familiar to me. One of those is Deluxe. I believe that they're based here in America, but they ship all over the world. And I discovered them from a content creator named Suis Lou. She's Spanish, Spain, one of the Spanish, she speaks Spanish for sure. So I'm certain that I'm butchering her name, but she's purchased so many different Hermes bags from them, as well as other bags from Chanel, and she raves about them. She doesn't question their authenticity. She's someone that I trust, so I think that Deluxe would certainly be a site to look at. Another one is, I believe it's called MyGemma or MyGemma. It's GEMMA, as I'll also be putting that over here on the screen. And they have been mentioned in Forbes, in Vogue, and various other publications that us girlies tend to love. So if they're being mentioned in those publications, it lets me know that they've obviously been vetted. Not too sure about their prices, but they're also one to check out. Now, let's move into some of the brick and mortar stores that I've actually been into, because I think that if a store has a brick and mortar location, it's just so much more helpful, especially if it's in your city, because sometimes that's helpful for returns. If there is in fact a return policy, it lets you be able to go into the places and maybe see items that you otherwise have not been able to see. So it's kind of dope. So if you can have that, that's pretty cool. But I think for me, no place is cooler. This is like a luxury wonderland. This is like the Disneyland of vintage archival pieces, and that is what goes around comes around. They have quite a few locations in New York, quite a few. It may be 2 or 3. I don't know. I do not know if they have any others in the US, but when you go in there, you're seeing rare, unique pieces. You're going to see one of one. You're not going to go in there and have a choice of 4 different monogram LV Speedies to choose from. They're one of one. Very special pieces. And I'm going to tell you this because I ain't going to front. You're certainly going to pay a coin. No, not a coin. Paper. You swiping for the stuff that's in the stuff. I hate when I say the stuff, because I love these beautiful pieces so much, and I never want to minimize the love that I have for these beautiful pieces of luxury and call them stuff. So please forgive me. If it offends you, believe me, it offends me too. So we're going to stop that. But what goes around comes around has really beautiful, one-of-a-kind pieces in terms of bags, SLGs, clothing, shoes, all of the things. I'm talking about rare Dior, rare everything, one of one. I once went in there a few summers ago and they had a little Chanel case, and I thought, oh wow, that looks like an AirPod case. But they mentioned that this particular case was from the early 90s, late 80s. I said, well, then that can't be an AirPod case because they didn't exist. And they schooled me on it. They educated me on that little piece. And apparently it was created for condoms, and it was created back when the AIDS epidemic was really very rampant, particularly in a certain community, and they thought that it would be so cool to be able to, Karl Lagerfeld thought that it would be so cool to create something so meaningful but also luxuriously beautiful to carry condoms in, protecting you while you looking fly. I think that's so dope. But those are the kinds of items, rare pieces like that you would find in what goes around comes around. So if you're in New York City, you definitely want to go in there and take a look. Next up, let us talk about TheReal Real, which, keeping it real, no, we're gonna hold off on TheReal Real for just a second, and let's hit up REBAG. REBAG is another that I have not purchased from. They do offer a return policy. I think that their prices are okay, and their selection to me is not as vast as the other 2 that I'm going to close this out with. So REBAG is certainly an alternative, right? If Something to think about, though, I do want to say this as we're segueing into, you know what, let's just jump in there because I'm getting all over the place, and I apologize, right? So yes, REBAG is an option, and I will be listing all of these sites that I'm speaking of, or stores, whether they're brick and mortar. Everything will be listed in the description box, so you can go there and take a look, print it out, make yourself a little chart so you know where to purchase your pre-loved luxury. Right now, another one is TheReal Real. I'm not going to get into a whole bunch about TheReal Real because I did make a video about them and a policy that they have that I really do not care for, right? What I do appreciate about TheReal Real is that their inventory is so vast. They have so many different items in all different brands in varying conditions. You're going to find something that may be very, very worn at TheReal Real. That is not something that they would sell at many of the other places that I've just named, because TheReal Real is not discriminating against people who may want to purchase that. And you can purchase that. If you see a Louis Vuitton bag that is not in the best condition because the vachetta is worn or because the zipper is broken, you can always contact Louis Vuitton to get a quote. If it's a Dior bag, you can contact Dior to get a quote of how much it would cost to repair the bag or refurbish the bag or replace the items that do not meet your standards, or if the item is broken. Remember, that's what the luxury houses do. They make these items, and very often they have replacement pieces, and there will be a charge. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, you see a Louis Vuitton Speedy bag. I know I'm always picking on the Speedy. It's just what I do, okay? So you see a Louis Vuitton Speedy bag. It's $300. You're like, oh, yo, that's a dope price. I'm really feeling that. But, oh, man, the handles need to be replaced because they're a little too worn for me. And the zipper is broken. Okay, but you contact Louis Vuitton and perhaps they'll say to replace all of that is $200. So you're still getting a Speedy for $500. So if that's a good price for you, and I'm not saying it is, I'm only saying not to rule it out. Repairs can take place at the luxury houses or at the brands that actually make the items. So you want to be able to explore that. Another option is the leather surgeons. The leather surgeons is a spa for bags, and they repair and spa leather bags, as evidenced by the name. Like, come on, stick with me. You on for this ride, right? So just think about that. Do not discriminate against a condition because you may be passing up something that could really be a gem. So just consider that. And the luxuries, the leather surgeons will also be listed in the description. I keep saying that. Everything's in the description. So please make sure you're always checking, because it takes time to be putting these things down there. So even if I'm not saying it, check the description of everybody that you follow, because very likely there's some information and answers to questions in that description box that you may have. Okay, I'm plugging a lot. Kawana, get with it. Get with the program. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Fashionphile. Like, duh, because everybody knows that Fashionphile is it. And I believe that anybody who's watching this video has heard of Fashionphile. What I really appreciate about Fashionphile, well, there are many things that I appreciate about Fashionphile. But one thing is that just as I was speaking about the condition of the bags at TheReal Real, usually Fashionphile kind of undersells it. Like, Fashionphile will say that something is in good condition versus excellent condition, which is tiered to be higher than good. And you'll look at it and you'll say, wow, this is really excellent to me. I don't see these flaws. I believe that they highlight anything that they may see so that they're making the buyer aware that this particular situation or flaw exists, so that no one can say that the item was not presented as described. But typically, they're going to drop it down a tier for something that is in really a great condition. Something else that I really love about Fashionphile, and this is also an option for TheReal Real. I do not know about the other vendors. I apologize. I didn't vet this. But have you heard of AfterPay? AfterPay, Affirm, and Klarna are online financial institutions that are payment options listed on both TheReal Real and Fashionphile. So what that means is that when you're choosing your payment options, either of these three that they offer, you can apply for on the spot. I'm not doing that. I'm only letting you know that there's an option that with an interest rate, you're able to buy these items if you do not have the money up front. And maybe you do. But we were kind of talking about Fashionphile and I got a little bit off. So there are payment entities or institutions that will help you to be able to make these purchases that you want to purchase if you do not want to use your credit card. But as I said, there is an interest rate attached to that. And I think the benefit of it is that they'll take the money directly out of your checking account, either on a bi-weekly basis or monthly basis. That's not my part. I don't know. You can clarify that and verify that with the actual institutions, Affirm, AfterPay, and Klarna. But because Fashionphile is so freaking fabulous, do you know that they offer layaway? I know. A Gen Z is probably asking, wait, huh? What's a layaway? A layaway of what? What are you laying where? Going away? What's happening? Layaway is an option, an interest-free option that Fashionphile offers a person, a buyer, a purchaser, such as myself or someone else, to leave a 10% deposit on an item and then pay it off over the period of 60 days. What? Huh? Yes, interest-free. You have this option as long as you pay the item off over the period of 60 days. I do not know if they would extend that. I've never asked. There may be a possibility, but I wouldn't risk it. It doesn't mean, I know what people are thinking. If you have to put something on layaway or charge it, you shouldn't buy it. That may not be the case, right? Perhaps you want to put something on layaway because you do not want to come up off of the money all at once. Maybe it's scary to think of laying out a certain amount of money all at once. But if you break that down in increments, it makes it seem just a little bit more manageable for you, or it allows you to digest it. Maybe thinking, oh my gosh, $5,000 in one shot? No. That's too much. I do not want to do it. I don't want to see that amount of money come out of my account right away. Oh, you know what though? But maybe I can put down $2,000 now and then do $1,000 next week and whatever. It will not the impact of it will not be so great. That's another option that you have with Fashionphile. So I'm not recommending anybody or any of these sites. What I'm telling you is that these are sites that you can purchase from. But I am saying almost every one of my PreLoved purchases has come from Fashionphile, and I absolutely love them. And yes, I have had at least one bag re-authenticated even after purchasing from Fashionphile. It was a Chanel bag that did not come with the authenticity card or any other tags or anything, and I just wanted to be sure because it was also a seasonal bag that I had not heard of. Another thing that Fashionphile does, and I do want to be able to say this, that Fashionphile has its own certificate of authenticity that comes attached to every single bag. And so you can keep this and hang on to it because it'll have a code, a barcode, and a number and everything that will attach to your bag. And so this helps you know that it is in fact authentic. And if you want to sell it on, then that could also be helpful. So I think that that's another really great touch from Fashionphile. So that's everything that I have for you for today's video. I hope that it was helpful. If you ever have any questions, I'm not an expert, but I definitely enjoy talking about bags. I enjoy helping people make decisions about bags. I really kind of enjoy all of the things. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the description box. And you can also DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to be able to walk with you through this journey and just cheer you on if you're thinking about purchasing something or if you've actually purchased any items. So again, join the style crew. I thank you so very much for watching today's video. And for somebody who's asking, because someone's been asking me, I digress again. Jacket is old, Zara. Hat, my Yankee fitted in velvet with the crystals. And my bralette kind of tank situation, not sure how well you can see it, is Skims times Fendi. That's where I'm at. That's what it's at. That's my style for today. What's your style for today? Okay, the longest outro ever. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you for sure in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.